Now, what have we gotten for that? What have we gotten for that? Absolutely nothing. Worse situation. Promises that are never kept.
Let me ask, I mean, you know, that debate has gone on where people talk about they like to see a privatization of the NNPC so that it will be perhaps, as you suggested as well, market-driven. And then some who oppose that will say, look, if that happens, you're going to see prices, first of all, skyrocket before it ever stabilizes. So would you like to see the full privatization of the NNPC?
That is the trend. That's the global trend. If you look at Malaysia, if you look at Brazil, if you look at, that's a global trend. So the complete unbundling of the NNPC is long overdue. And all of that, if that's one major anti-corruption tool, you know, in plugging leakages. You just wake up the next morning and find out that what you used to have so easy to steal is no longer there. Nobody has fought with you. Nobody has abused you or taken you to court. So it should be unbundled like the PACN was, and it should be completely privatized. Yes, I support that fully.
I remember,
but remember that
I remember the
government will also play a regulatory role.
Use the word interchangeably, unbundling and restructuring of the NNPC. But we'll get to find out soon where we are in the scheme of things concerning that particular one. But were you satisfied or not with what they said at the time when the price of petrol was being increased, that they had to even come up with a special pricing template such that the price wouldn't be higher than it already is? Because if they had allowed marketers to go source their forex from the regular market like everybody else, the prices would have been higher. Was that tenable for you?
Tenable? You mean pegging forex as 305 for independent marketers, you mean? Or perhaps I didn't properly understand the question you're asking.
No, I'm talking about the fact that the petroleum price, yes, not higher than what it is today. They say it could have been way higher, but that they had to come up with a special template and a way to source forex for the marketers, so that if they left it all to market supply, it will be very difficult for people to afford the product.
Well, I think that if we need to go the whole hog, remember that in Jonathan's time, I think he increased the pump price to, I think, 150 or 140, something as the case may be. I was one of those who went to, and that's what today I regret it, you know, Occupy Nigeria and all of that, you know. But we need to go the whole hog. We need to go the whole hog because definitely, do you remember when this GSM thing first came? People paid instrumentally for handsets, and some of these the providers told us that they could not sell recharge cards less than 1,000 or 500 naira. Today they are selling for 50 naira. They are begging you. They are giving SIM cards free. So that's the beauty of a market-driven economy. But much more than that, the board of the legal framework of the NNPC need a complete overhaul. If it were just any agency, no one would not worry. This is the agency that lays over 90% of the nation's resources. It cannot be left in the hands of two people, the president and the GMD of the NNPC. It's an insult and it's an aberration. It needs to have been stopped, and it should be stopped. It should be stopped. The framework should be reviewed. The framework should be reviewed for the betterment of the country.
Some people say that you focus largely on the downstream sector of the country, and a lot of people will say, well, that's where the masses feel they impact the most. But then when you look at, say, the larger framework, for instance, the Petroleum Industry Bill, which has been in the National Assembly since forever, but under this administration, under the 8th Senate, was able to see some progress made. We saw it being divided into a number of bills, and we saw the governance aspect of it being passed. Doesn't that show that there seems to be some traction in terms of work being done in the overarching framework of what our oil industry should be looking like?
Yes, to that extent, I think in that light, government has done a little bit of positive impact. But again, you see, I'm an anti-corruption practitioner. And the first question you ask yourself is, if that petroleum industry bill were to be passed, who would lose? When you start answering such questions, you will now know where the problem is coming from. For me, and without mincing words, those problems are coming from the oil majors. But they don't hold gun to your head. It's intelligence. So if you have capacity, you can win them in the game. Because if we say local content is for the betterment of Nigeria, but then you now have senators from the north fighting senators from the south, and at the end of the day, nobody actually knows what they're fighting about concerning passage of a law that will develop the economy of the country. I urge government to wake up and to look these oil majors eyeball to eyeball and take charge. Take charge. That's where the problem is coming from, because they are the ones benefiting, and they will not stop. They won't stop except you develop capacity and win them intelligently.
Okay, so part of what they also highlighted in terms of some of the big wins that the ministry said they've recorded includes 10 modular refineries. Some of them, they say, will break ground by the fourth quarter of this year. So, and then that speaks to availability of the product. And then they also talk about the forthcoming Dangote refinery. So those two components, I know you spoke about making the product available and refineries. Do these 2 points perhaps speak or answer your concerns that you previously raised?
Well, I think that the modular refineries is still at the promissory stage, like every other promises that the administration has made. But yes, Dangote refinery, and that's the difference between a private sector-driven entity and a public sector-driven entity. Dangote refinery is moving on smoothly, and we are praying that it should be completed on schedule, although with a lot of support also from the government. So, modular refinery is still promissory. We wait and see what happens of it.
All right, Ivie, we appreciate your talking to us this morning. Ivie Richards is the Executive Director of Corruption Observatory. We'll be back in a moment. Don't go away.